Hello everyone and welcome back to our Portuguese homestead. Today I want to do a video that's a little bit different from what we usually do. It's me talking, but it's talking about a very specific subject. One that I do also get questions about quite often, so I thought partially to answer your question, but also to kind of motivate myself to do this is do a budget challenge. For me that will mean that I'm not gonna do a super small budget, be really strict with myself, but to actually stick to my budget that I set, because usually we go a little bit over it. So today in this video I want to kind of give an introduction of some of into our budget and how I see it, some of the costs that are involved in living here, which are not many, and then I want to kind of focalize the goals that I have for this month financially, as well as some of the ways that we or I will try to actually achieve these goals. So first of all, and I will put it on the screen somewhere so that you can kind of follow along. We do have a budget. It's a small budget, and within that budget I kind of allocate some things, some money to particular things. Let me look at my notes. So as I've mentioned before, one of the biggest expenses that we have right now is food. Our goal for the future is to grow more of our own food, but we're not there yet. It's also winter. Our garden is not producing as much as it could because we're still in our first year basically. I can't work as hard as usually because I'm pregnant. All those things mean that we do have to go to the shop once a week, and I usually try to make a list and a little bit of a meal plan, more on that later, so that we can at least not spend too much on it. But I have to say, food is kind of my downfall when it comes to budgeting. I like good food. I love all the Christmas extra food that they have, so I always over the last month when I was in the shops I would get one thing, but that's still always a couple of euros extra that you spend. So kind of getting more in the mindset of what are some of the cheaper things that we can buy, that are still nutritious, that are especially for me what I need right now within pregnancy. That's going to be my biggest challenge, I think. So what I try to spend on food, but what I think we usually go over is I try to have 350 for the month for the three of us. So 350 euros, that's 85 a week. That's what we try to spend on it, but as I said, we usually get over, so that's the part where I have to be the most strict on myself and stick to the list. Next to that, we have to spend a little bit of money on diesel for the car, obviously. For this month I've set it on 50 euros. Prices are quite low at the moment, so that helps, but we also don't drive that much, so sometimes when we go, sometimes we have to get diesel an extra time a month when we go further away, but usually it's just like a couple short drives, 1 or 2 per week, so we don't spend that much money on diesel, which is good. The other thing that we spend money on is gas. So for cooking, we buy those blue tanks, and they're around 30 euros. Depending on where you buy them. Usually they're 26, 28. So that's one of the expenses that we have, but usually it's only one every 2 months. and we just replaced one of them, so we already spent that money, but it's in the budget for January. And next up, the only two other things that we have to spend money on are the internet and my phone. So both of them are 15 euros. Let me get the cat out. So both of them are 15 euros, 15. So that's one that I still just have a monthly payment on my Dutch phone, the Dutch phone number, and then we have one of those NOS routers that's also only 15 euros, which is a very good price. So those are the things that we have to spend money on, and then I usually try to have a miscellaneous portion within the budget, but that I also kind of goes on to the overflow of spending more money on food, just buying some random things, buying materials. So that means that we have, I try to stick to 50 for miscellaneous, and then we have a 200 euro-ish portion of our budget that goes to random things, usually materials that we need for our projects. So right now that would mean we got an extra roll of fencing, which was 40 euros. This is in the month of December. We also need to buy petrol for the digger. That's an extra expense. So those are kind of the random things that we need for our projects that also cost money, sadly. So a couple things that I wanted to mention that are also part of this, how much does it actually cost to live here, are yearly expenses. So one of them being taxes, road taxes, car payments, what we have for so the other things that we pay for yearly for the car are, we pay road tax, which is I think about 50 euros, but I'm not sure, it's been a while since we paid it, and we usually just pay for it in one go. And then we're done with it. And then the other thing that we pay for on a yearly basis, also just to get it over with, is a car insurance. And it's about 180 to 200 euros, and we pay it in the summer. So I think somewhere beginning of the summer last year, I just went into the office, I paid cash to them. So those are the extra costs for the car. The coming month of January, though, we have to go get the MOT for the car as well, which is like the yearly checkup to see if it's still safe, etc. I'm not sure exactly how much that is or was last year. I think it was about 40 euros, but that's again part of that overflow part of the budget that we have. Other types of taxes, health insurance. We don't pay tax for the land right now because the value is so low that the government is not really bothered to get any. Like it would cost more to send the letter to than they would actually get back in taxes. So we don't pay taxes on that. But that's of course different for everyone. Then we have this year and last year, so we'll have to do a little bit of income tax because we do make money now, but we'll have to see, and I'm not sure how much that is going to be. And then lastly, we have health insurance. Until recently, actually, we were still insured in the Netherlands, which also gave us access to healthcare here in Portugal. But now we're part of the whole Portuguese system, but I still have to figure out how much we actually have to pay for that. So I'm not sure. Can't tell you anything about that, but if you're self-employed and you don't make that much money, it's not that much. And then usually they will have some type of copay system where you like pay 10-20 euros extra for certain things, but until now we haven't had to go to the doctor, so I wouldn't know, but it's good to have a little bit of money set aside just if you need that. And then 3 things that I did want to mention that we spent money on this month, so in December, which will also be things that we will still use in January, and are kind of more seasonal spending, I think, is this month we bought some extra firewood, which was 70 euros, and just because we didn't chop enough and we didn't buy enough the first time. So Martin got an extra load of firewood. It was 70 euros. Burns well, it's on right now, so it's nice and warm here, and we definitely need it for the month of January. Next to that, we also have to buy chicken feed, which is about 12 euros for one of those very big bags, and they last about 3 months, and this month Martin got a new one. And then finally, a big bag. One of the things I love about Portugal is that you can buy those massive 25 kilo bags of potatoes for very cheap. We got a bag for 8.50, and we got it at more like an agricultural shop, so they were for eating, not for planting, but they're very cheap. So that's one of the ways that we try to not spend too much money on food, is try to find some big bulk items where you can just have a massive load for a good price. But we don't have so much storage space that we can buy massive bags of rice or anything else. But we do buy the potatoes. Whew. I'm going quick and I'm out of breath. So, what's my goal for January of the new year, 2021? May it be a better year than this year, 2020. So, my goal for this month, as I said in the beginning, is mostly to actually stick to my budget. It's quite easy, even for me, living frugally, living on a minimal budget for a long time. It's still quite easy to like spend a couple euros here and there, like buy a random thing that you don't really need, all that type of stuff. Spend too much money on food. So my goal for this month is actually to just stick to what I have put on paper and what we actually need. And there's not many things that that are wants for us that we will buy, or like in general buy. Most of the things that we buy we actually need. So kind of in relation to that, for me that also means that I don't overspend on food, so that we can actually buy the materials that we need, or that we have enough money if we need like an extra thing for a project, that we can actually buy that within the month without a problem. So that's part of that, not overspending in one area, going into the overflow, and then not having enough money to buy extra stuff. And other than that, it's just good to save every bit of money that comes in, because we have a baby on the way, so there's a couple things that we need to pay for, like the ultrasound and the midwife we have to pay for ourselves, and yeah, so it's good to have a little bit of money set aside for that, and then just keep on saving, so just have that we have enough money for the baby, but also so that we can start investing back more into into the YouTube channel and into materials that we need for that as well, as mentioned before. Oh, and buy a new washing machine, because that's still on the list. So, what's my plan to actually achieve these goals? They're all related to the food budget, so I'll just kind of share them quickly. One of the things that I've seen a lot, I don't know if you watch this show, but it's all on YouTube. It's Till Death Do Us Part. It's an old show from early 2000s. I get so much anxiety from it. It's crazy, because you can see exactly how the financial crisis of 2008 happened. People were just overspending like crazy. Anyway, the lady usually recommends using the jar method. I've kind of thought of doing that before as well. I never actually did it. You can use jars or envelopes or anything like that, but just write down how much you want to spend on that on like the envelope, put that money in there and just do all cash. So 350 for food, 50 for petrol, just so you know how much you have and how much you can still spend on that for the month. And then it's easier to keep track of how much you're spending, because if you pay by card, I think we all know that, it's so easy to like spend a little bit there, spend a little bit there, and then you're like over budget by however much you're spending. And yeah, it just goes so quickly. So that's one of the ways that I want to kind of start to visualize for myself how much we're spending on certain things, start keeping the receipts for things, and then we can kind of track our spending that way as well. Which, yeah, I have been better at in the past. It kind of gets away from me every now and then, so that's my goal. So when it comes to food spending, I want to do more meal planning. As I said, I already kind of do that, just so we know what we need to get for shopping. Martin will do a lot of the shopping as well usually, so then I really like need to be super specific of all the things that he would need to get for our different meals. But within the meal plans, I want to start thinking more about what are some cheap meals, filling meals, and also how can I do more batch cooking. So for example, the lentil stew that I showed a couple videos ago, that's a very affordable meal. And the big pot I made actually fed us for 2 days. Then you're not thinking of 2 different meals of different ingredients, and that's a great way to kind of keep your budget down as well. And then try, but this really depends on how much energy I have, honestly. Going into the third trimester, I have to see how much more cooking I can actually do from scratch. We do cook 3 meals a day usually, but we do buy some bread for lunch or dinner, so I want to try and see how much energy I have to spare to maybe do some more bread. But yeah, depends. One of the things that I can do, I think quite easily as well, is cook our beans from dried beans instead of buying the jars or the cans or whatever, because you can get many more beans for the same price if you just cook it yourself, but then you're also obviously using more gas, or we have to do it on the fire inside, but then the whole yurt kind of smells like beans for a little while. So those are some of the choices that I have to make living in a small house, and on a budget. Cooking beans from scratch is really delicious. We're home anyway, but we'll have to see how that goes, and then maybe I want to do some more baking as well, just so that we don't buy extra cakes or stuff like that. But baking is also, I think, more expensive because you need to buy butter and sugar and extra ingredients. So we'll see how that goes. But the goal is to try to cook even more from scratch, and then also to try to keep it seasonal. So don't buy vegetables that are out of season. And oh, by the way, when it comes to meat eating, we do try to buy organic, which we can sometimes, not all the time, and we buy it once a week when we go to the shop, and that's it. And we don't really eat more than that, so it's not a major expense within our budget. And then finally, I was thinking maybe I can make a rough estimate of how much we'll spend on a shop before we actually go, or before Martin goes. So I've tried to keep some of the receipts that we have had for the last month, kind of know how much our staples costs, so that we can know beforehand and can maybe kind of adjust how much we're spending or what we're gonna buy, depending on the calculation that we have in front. So that's the plan. I hope I didn't blabber on for too long. Just for fun, I tried to find some of our budgeting for when we still lived in the city in the Netherlands. We had, even in just like the regular expenses, we already had like 2,400 euros in things that we had to spend money on. So rent was a major part of that, being 1,100, I think. Gas, electric, all that stuff kind of blows my mind how much money we had to spend on that. I know many people are still in that boat, but for us it feels so much better that we're like fortunate enough that we no longer have those expenses. So that's really great. It does mean other types of work that we have to do, which you see in the videos, a lot more maintenance to your water, electric, all that stuff. But yeah, crazy. Anyway, I think any month is a good month to kind of get yourself back on track financially, so that you can save as much money as you can. And that's also what we did do when we still lived in Haarlem. We never went out to eat. We only went to museums that were free, because we had like a year card to go to any museum. Yeah, we did other free activities like go for a walk in the woods or something, but other than that we didn't spend any money on things that we didn't need. So that's how we were able to save up to get to this point. So it's not that people just get here and magically fall into a place where you have less expenses. It was also already years of living frugally, budgeting, not going out, etc., for us to get here. So if you have that goal, don't think, oh, Leah gets to spend that little money on things. It's a process. I will do 2 update videos on this. So this was kind of a start and a peek into how much that we spend. What are some of the costs involved in living this way? And then I'm gonna do 2 update videos, like one in the middle to see how I'm doing, and then one in the end, kind of an evaluation of the month. And maybe set a new goal for myself, maybe go really in on the food budget, not spend any money on that, etc. But we'll see. If you want to kind of participate, if you have some financial goals for yourself in the new year, in the next month, do let me know in the comments. I love talking about, I do kind of like talking about money and about budgeting, so let me know in the comments what you're doing for the month of January. And then I'll see you guys in the next video.